Good afternoon, everyone. It's time for another one of those chats with wine. In this case, it's from my parents' favourite winery in Pindari. What is it? It's the Rosedale Road, Sagiverse Rose. I don't even know if that's how you pronounce it. Who cares? Who cares? Let's just drink it. Let's just drink it and chat. That's what we're going to do. As Katie Hopkins would say, I need some anaesthetic. Bloody good anaesthetic. Anyway, what are we going to talk about today? Okay, I don't want to bore you, but I'm going to talk about boats. So if you don't like boats, skedaddle, okay? I like boats. Not just boats. I want to have a boat that's a home. It's a toy. Something potentially to do videos from, do interviews on, and to race. Lots of different things, and you can't get it. You can't be a jack of all boats. You just can't. So, as you all know, I've got this 23-foot pocket yacht. That's what I like to call it, called Manumitter, which basically you can put on a trailer, and every time you're getting in and out, you like to bang your head. You don't like to, you just do. You invariably do. It's small. But some of the benefits are that it's pretty versatile. You can put it on a trailer. You don't necessarily have to pay for the extra mooring space. And you can go places that are really shallow. But you get to a point where you kind of grow out of it. You basically want to go further. And we're in South Australia here, so the waters do get a little bit lumpy. And yeah, I've been thinking for a while about getting a blue water boat. And where do you start with that? Because it's a huge topic. And if you were to look up blue water sailing or blue water boats on YouTube, you would find so many different controversial opinions of what one is or what one isn't. So I've been doing a lot of research, a lot of looking, some test sailing, and trying to get the finance organised for one. And I kind of cut to the chase a bit. I haven't found it yet, but there's a few possibilities. So this journey began about a month ago, and I don't know, I think I just came across this particular boat at my club. It was there, so went over and had a look at it, and it was this beautiful race boat called Emma, and it's quite well known at the club. If I do this, by the way, it's because there's mosquitoes flying around my head. Beautiful race boat and fast race boat, one of the fastest, if not the fastest in the club. And it's been sitting there, and they want to sell it for a while because the person who actually sailed it passed away a few years ago. So I saw it and I thought, you know what, I'm dead keen to get back into racing properly, not just as a member of someone's crew, but skippering my own boat, because I used to sail race sailboards when I was younger. I thought this boat had my name on it in some respects, but at the same time, is it good to go blue water sailing? Well, it can sail blue water, but that doesn't mean that you can actually live on it and travel easily. There are problems with it. So I had a look at it, pretty bare on the inside. It's not like I couldn't do anything with it, but at the same time, it's got this modified rig that I'm a bit nervous about, and it's got a race keel, which is really exposed if you hit something. So on that subject, that's one of the considerations, keels. And you know, if you have a bit of time to walk around the boatyard at your sailing club, you get a little bit of an idea of the different keels, the different boats that are there. So I guess starting at something that I'm familiar with, the boat I have doesn't have a huge keel to speak about. The weight's in the bottom of the boat. It's what we call a shoal draft boat. And you basically have a center plate that you just drop out of the bottom, and that helps you go upwind. So it's lighter, and it's just versatile. You can put it on the trailer, but it doesn't go upwind particularly well. And when there's a strong wind, you need it a little bit extra. So shoal draft boat. Other trailer sailors at the club, trailer sailors, sorry. There are quite a few of them. You can walk around and see them on the trailers. Some of them are actually really quick boats, and they actually have a keel that you can lower down. And TNG, or Touch and Go, that's a race boat that we quite often see out with the bigger boats, and it's pretty quick. but it's another thoroughbred race boat. So, yep, versatile keel that you can lower down, but would you live on it? No, you wouldn't. It's a boat that's a bit of a toy for the owners to come out and race on weekends. As you progress around, you start to see some of the keel characteristics that are probably desirable in a proper blue water boat. And these are the kind of things I'm looking for. So you have your full keel boats, which basically the keel goes the length of the boat. And these are, I'm going to call them almost idiot proof, because you hit something with them. They're not as exposed, they're not necessarily going to break off. And even if you're out in the middle of the ocean, you can hit things, right? You can hit whales, for example. It does happen. You can hit containers, which would not be easy to see. They're just below the surface. And if you hit that with a race keel, that's potentially going to rip the keel off. And that's a real problem. So you can see why full keels that run the length of the boat are very desirable. And a lot of people say this is something you really need to look at if you're going blue water sailing. There is a slight variation of this, like a modified full keel. It's got a bit of a cutaway at the front, and they're also pretty desirable. So there are some boats that are, even some really small boats. For example, there's a boat called a Contessa 26, and 26 feet long. That has a modified full keel, and that's really popular overseas. Probably a little bit small for what I'm looking for, but it's been known to go across oceans, so it would do the job if you're a minimalist solo sailor. Then we start talking fin keels, and those come in all kinds of shapes and sizes. And I guess technically speaking, a race keel is a fin keel. It comes out as a fin. It's a bolt-on keel, but a race keel is just really kind of flat. And yes, we've got some company next door. We got the barking dog, but that's all right. It's all good. If you have a fin keel that's slightly swept back and its load is spread over a wider area, then it's just, I think you can see how that's just probably a safer option. So yeah, these are the kind of things I'm looking at. I want a boat with either a full keel, a modified full keel. Not happy. I'd be really reluctant to get a keel that is ideally used for sailing. Another one is a fin keel with a big bulb on the end of it. You can see how these would probably collect cray pots if you're lucky, and reefs if you're unlucky. So not really ideal. So where did this take us? Well, the first boat we looked at, as I said, was Emma. She's got a big race keel with a big weight on the bottom. And I like the boat. It had enough room inside to do something with, but let's be honest, you needed probably a crew on this boat, and it was a bit above my price range, but it's still on the market, so I'm not totally giving up on that one, but it's not in the ideal range. From there, we found out that there's this boat that's steel, big heavy steel boat down the end of one of the wharfs at our club. I think it's called a Flinders 38. Perhaps. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Big steel heavy boat, basically, with a full keel. So I actually suspect this will be a really good blue water boat. Really big. If you've got a lot of skills as a handy person, you could probably do something with it. But I went on there with my partner, who is behind the camera and all quiet at the moment. She's the silent person in this, and occasionally if the camera moves, she's playing around with it. But I'm considering not just myself, but what she might like. What she'd find comfortable to live on. Big enough for us? Neither of us thought that this was a winner. We didn't fall in love with this boat. So, but it's a good project for someone else, just on account of its size. So where did we go from that? Well, oh God, I need a drink for this part. Is this a saga that's still going? The broker for that boat had this other boat that thought we might be interested in, and we were. A Duncanson 35 called Sea Lark, that's the name. Beautiful boat. It's so good to look at. I think it's down, they say it's an 88 boat, but I'm pretty sure it's older. I reckon this could be early 80s, late 70s. And but nice and roomy, 35 foot long. It actually also has a fin keel, bolted on keel. And I was so interested in this boat that we actually took this one for a test sail, and what can I say? She handles so well on the ocean. And as we were coming back up the river towards our club, the wind went up in excess of 15 knots, and even with the full sail up, it handled really well. Even when it was right over, heeled over, really comfortable to sail. So I was dead keen on this boat, and this is just one of the things that you have to find out when you're going through this process. It is a process. There's 3 people in the game. There's the buyer, me, the seller, the gentleman who came out with us, who was really, really good and really, really gave a lot of his time, and I'm very grateful for that. And then there's the broker in the middle, and that's just the way it works. So you have to have 3 people essentially, winning out of this. You've got the seller has to get what they want. The buyer has to be satisfied, and the broker obviously is doing it for a living. So if you're going to be completely objective, there's a lot of dots that have to line up. And we were pretty close. I think we were within maybe 1 or 2 grand of doing a deal on this boat. But there's some things that have to be done. And I think of it a bit like cave diving, where there's pieces of a pie missing. And for me, there was too many pieces of the pie missing. But for someone else who's perhaps a technician, a mechanic, or somebody who works in boating, it would have been, all in a day's work. I'm not completely sure that this episode is over, because it is still a boat I'm interested in. It ticks so many boxes. It is a great handling boat, but for the moment we've backed out of that sale and give other people the opportunity to buy her. But it's still at our club at the moment, so as I'm walking around getting video, it's there. Where do we go from there? Well, we looked at a completely different kind of option, a much smaller boat, but bigger than manumitter, and it still ticked a lot of boxes. I think it's a bit on the small size, but I am intrigued by this boat, and it's a Cole 26, and I'm trying to remember the name. It's quite a striking paint scheme, but I've spoken to the owner and had a conversation with him. We're going to go out and do a bit of a sale, even for no other reason, for curiosity. And if it really ticks a few boxes with respect to performance, that it's something I might be interested in. 26 foot is a bit small, but there are people who circumnavigate in 26 foot boats. 2 people, I don't know, that's a stretch. You can stand up in it. That's a massive step forward. That was one of the prerequisites that I had. And yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a mystery, the Cole 26, because not many people seem to know everything about it. Even when I start looking at the statistics on the ballast and things like that, there seems to be a lot of information missing. But I'm interested in it. We're going to go out for a sail. If it's a good performing boat, then it's not completely beyond possibility that we could consider this one. I don't know if it's the forever boat, but maybe it's the next few year boat. It'd certainly be good for local waters, I would say. And if it performs at that club racing level, then it's a consideration. So that takes us to today. I looked at 2 further boats. Well, one further one in some depth, spoke to the owner. That was a Compass 30 foot. And that's got a lot of features I like. I think it's still got a fin keel, good race boat, good handling, good blue water boat. Yeah, I know he's not ready to sell it just yet, but he's looking to in the next 6 months. And then, just as it would happen, I mentioned the boat Emma before. There's this other boat at the club which is very similar in its lines, in its racing characteristics, with one massive exception, and that is it's set up for single-handed or solo sailing, and quite easy to sail with 2 people. And I've seen this guy come out with this boat quite a few times. He does well in the races, so it's reasonably well maintained. It's not saying it's been sitting there for a long time. It's sailing regularly, and it may be up for sale within the next several months. So that's the racing part of me that's dead keen on that boat. But it's also good for sailing with not many crew. And I do get the feeling it's a lot more comfortable than Emma and set up for day sails and across the Gulf. So I'm I'm curious about this boat, and we'll just see what happens, whether it does, we do potentially consider it. So that's been me. That's been us. We've been going around, and I will grant Karen, my partner, who's watching like this with a big smile on her face, she's got the patience of a saint, because we've been walking around for the last few weeks looking at all these boats. And I like boating, I like sailing, but if I'm struggling with it because it's, you know, it's just one thing after another without actually being out there, then she must be really struggling with it. But this is what happens when you're going to get into sailing. It's like buying a new house, buying a new car. You really have to start asking a lot of questions and finding out whether it will tick the boxes. And you're not going to get something that ticks all of them, but you need to tick enough. And you also need to be able to go out there, as far as I'm concerned, and sail it, not just do maintenance on it all the time, because that's why we're buying it. You know, the cheaper the boat you buy, the more maintenance you're going to have to do. If you want to get a boat that's brand new and you have the money, great, you'll be out there straight away. But we're somewhere in the middle. But yeah, that's been my last few weeks. Tomorrow we're off racing on someone else's boat. But I just thought I'd have a drink and share that with you guys. And yeah, if you've got questions about sailing, or you've got anything you want to say in relation to boats that might be available, maybe ideally in the 30 to 35 foot range, particularly in South Australia, leave it in the comments section. If there's anyone who's interested in buying a Hood 23 that's in pretty good working order and is a really good startup boat, give me a buzz, because I will, needless to say, be looking at selling that boat as well if I get the new one. So that's me, that's us. Hope you're having a good night. Hope you're having a good glass of wine. Cheers. Until next time.